Good morning, everyone. Welcome. Take a moment to come into this space. Take a good big deep breath. Take a moment to think about, feel your way into what's something that you've done already today that makes you feel free or that expresses your creativity. I just want you to bring that to mind. Talk to your neighbor about it if you feel so inclined. Something that made you feel free or some way that you expressed your creativity. Okay. So opening with that question, then, how is it that you define creativity? How is it that you define creativity? I have one idea there on the screen at the bottom. What do you think of when you think of creativity? How do you define that? Maybe people come to mind, or places come to mind. You can use those in your what do you think of list. Think of a few things there. And then compare your list to your neighbor real quick. Kind of a big topic, actually, is what we're going to discover as we go along. And maybe your list reflects that. Maybe not. Either way is okay. Is creativity a way of escaping everyday duty and responsibility? Or is creativity some kind of stroke of genius? Or maybe it's something, maybe creativity is reserved for other more free-spirited people other than you? Or maybe it's something central to who you are. With 500 people in this room, it can show up as so many different things. So we'll start here. How many uses can you think of for a paperclip? Make a quick list there. Can you come up with 5? I mean, other than clipping paper together. Yeah, other than that one. Oh yeah, there you go. Okay, for the people who have come up with 5, can you come up with 10? 10 ways to use a paperclip? All right, has anybody come up with really unique paperclip things? Anybody have a paperclip use that you'd like to share?
My roommate and I have been using it to hang ornaments on our tree because we ran out of hooks and didn't want to use the string.
Go for it.
My roommate and I have been using it to hang ornaments on our tree because the strings just were not working out and we didn't have any hooks and we were like, all right.
Paperclip. Cheap solution. Excellent. What else? Any other innovative paperclip uses?
You can use it to unlock a door, like if you straighten it out.
Oh, yeah. Picking a lock. Okay, that's good. They said the same thing in this group. Okay, we need a microphone over this way. The gentleman in the blue shirt here. Go ahead.
For my project earlier in the week, I used it for like a sewing thing. My sweater had split open.
Sweet, a sewing thing. Nice. A needle for sewing. How about right behind you, Valerie, actually? Okay, go back there in a minute. Yep, it's you now.
I'm going, all right.
Yeah.
So on the back of my phone, I have one of those like little card things you put your key in.
Oh, yeah.
And I noticed in like the first few weeks I was here, I would like try to like use my fingernail to kind of get the key out, and it was like kind of peeling the thing off my phone. So I took a paper clip, I cut it, and then I put it in the hole of the key, and I twisted it. So now I just have to pull on the paper clip. So that was something I thought of. Maybe I should be an engineering major. I don't know.
There it is. That could be worth $1 million idea or more. Yes?
You could use it to tie like a loaf of bread back if you lost the bread tie.
Right.
Or to pop the SIM card out of your phone.
Oh, yep, excellent. How about right in front of you? I'm trying to get it to you. Yes.
My lab partner said you could use it as an earring.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Earring. Okay. Sorry, you started answering, and so I wanted to get the microphone to you. Okay. What else? I read an interesting one that I would not have thought of on my own, that you can scratch a paperclip with something metal to magnetize it, and then you set it on the leaf, and then you set the leaf on some water, and it floats, and it can act like a compass. My mind was blown. It's like, holy cow, that's so cool. So when we think outside of the box, we can think of all kinds of different solutions, right? Bookmark, toothpick, letter opener, belt buckle. We can go on and on with this list. And it seems like something silly, but when you think of it just as a paper clip, you might be able to open up. It might create some freedom and solutions for things that you need. So what happens when we enter or when we think about this idea of a creativity mindset? It's not just about what you do, it's about how you set your thinking, right? So you have to, to draw or to paint or to shoot a movie or to make music doesn't necessarily imply any actual creativity. We think that it does, but that's because creativity isn't about what you do, it's about what you're being. It's about that mindset. It's kind of like what we were talking about with identity. So mindsets are just defined as the ideas and attitudes that shape what we're doing, how we approach a situation. So mindsets imply that mental and attitude, those states, can assist us in any particular given skill set. So as we think about that creativity mindset, it's the idea to generate ideas or to work toward something. And the cool thing about being my age is that I have met and seen so many people using their creativity in different ways. One reason that I like to watch sports is because those people are being creative with the way that they're thinking, with the way that their bodies can move in ways that I can't even imagine, right? I think that that's pretty cool. I've watched people be creative with food. I have a dear friend of mine, and we kind of talk about spices and ideas of how to make food be really savory or really awesomely sweet, right? What if we add some cardamom to that coffee cake? So it could be creativity around food. It could be creativity, in dance, in music, in those typical ways, but also outside of the box. I get to hang out once a week with an artist who's in town, and yes, I title him an artist, so you would imply that he is creative, but he's somebody that I can take my shoes, the soles of my shoes are falling off, and I can take them there, and he can help me figure out the best solution on how to fix things. He thinks in ways that, again, my mind can't even imagine thinking up the creative solutions that he comes up with to everyday challenges. And his house is just this really eclectic place. He reads immense amounts of information. And in fact, a lot of what comes from, well, not a lot, but some of what comes into this class are articles that he gives me, because he's always thinking about different ways to get information to people and to educate people and to make people aware. And so he informs my being. Even though it's not part of my formal work, I know that he's making me better at what I do in all kinds of different ways. So the way that creativity shows up, we have to believe in ourselves. We are human beings, and so we are inherently creative. It's built into our DNA as being creative. So the way that we can show up, creativity is everywhere, right? It gives how you approach your life, how you approach different endeavors, how you build your sandwich. You should watch my children build sandwiches. It's in ways that let's just crumble these tortilla chips into this sandwich with these pepperonis. I'm like, great, okay, go for it. So how you build a sandwich, as a simple example, is a way that's going to lead to your happiness, right? It's a way of expressing creativity. It's something that can be different for every person. And so it's in us. We have opportunities and possibilities because this is inherently inside of each of us. Right? But somehow we get frameworked out of it, right? If we think about creativity, maybe in elementary school, you were told that, that drawing is okay. And then you hear the teacher go to the next person, they go, wow, look at your drawing. And immediately your mindset shifts. I was told that, I'm not going to spend time giving you voice lessons because, you're just not a good singer. That immediately shifted my mindset. And so now the only place I sing is in the car. And today I don't sing much, actually, today. So it's a matter of how we are shaped and formed as children, I think, that sort of squelches, for some of us, our creativity. And yet it's always in there. It's in there. It's been in there since the beginning. They're showing that some of these rock paintings are like 35,000 years old in caves. Being creative has been a defining characteristic for humans since the beginning of humans. Our natural predisposition toward creativity can be traced back to drawings like these, This is a picture of jaguar, tapir, and red deer, and how they interacted with people. And that was dated to about 28,000 years ago. People telling stories and sharing information in this way. So understanding what makes up creativity will help us to find its roots. And play is a very basic ingredient. Play gives us permission to mess things up, to move things about without an exact end goal. And that's why when Luke wants to put, crushed up tortilla chips on his sandwich, I'm not going to be like, no, tortilla chips are supposed to be on the side. He's totally playing with it's fun to crunch them up. It's fun to put them on the sandwich, and then it's fun to eat them that way. It's different. And so it's okay sometimes to watch children play, but then again, as adults, if I saw one of you do that, if you saw somebody else, if you saw me do that, like, what the heck is she doing? That's so weird. So acting grown up seems to limit our sense of play. Invention is a result of creativity. So things that we see as valuable or useful came out of creativity. Humor is part of it too, right? A willingness to tread the fine line between genius and embarrassment. What does that look like for us? Imagination, our ability to read impulses and instincts and thoughts. And creativity is how it then comes out from our imagination into reality. So boldness and risk-taking are parts of expressing this creativity in some ways. So if you think about these kinds of things and how then they have been transformed into the things that we know now, today, right? So we've really based our civilization, or human civilization is based on creativity and innovation, right? And it's not really a stretch to say that civilization is based on creativity. From the design and structure of our buildings to our indoor plumbing, none of that would exist without somebody looking for a creative or interesting or different solution to a problem. From the survival perspective, creativity is not really a necessity. We could still be, these are things, from the early times, early 1900s, this tool being from much earlier in human existence. So we could still be doing those things. So we could still be surviving with the old things, but things have changed. So another word that creativity sort of hides under is the word innovation. So it's like a grown-up word for being creative, the idea that we innovate or that we problem solve. So these are things that we can see that are fundamentally part of who we are. So creativity sometimes comes out of the necessity to solve problems. And we're going to come back to that in a little bit. Creativity comes anytime we need to question the rules or the status quo or even ourselves. Right? Creativity comes from many sources, including our social surroundings, comes from play, it comes from problem solving. So saying that our creative only comes when we're relaxed and able to enjoy a little painting or some crafts or some art, it's really diminishing what the power of creativity is. It's not just those moments when we have time to just doodle a little bit. So creativity really comes from the place, interactions with life and other people, with ourselves and the universe, right? So those creative or aha moments invoke the same activity in our brain. So going back to that idea, the vagus nerve and how that connects all of our parts inside of us. The aha moment that we get when we create something or when we choose something that is moving forward, making a change, it invokes the same activity in our brains as delicious food does. Same thing that addictive substances can do. The same thing that sexual pleasure can do. Lights up those same spots in our brains, right? Those aha moments, those places when you go, oh, I get it. It's creating this really cool energy inside of our bodies. So that rush, that sense of relief, that pleasure that we get, that wave of happiness we feel when we risk making a change and then something pays off, those aha moments, those changes, our brains reward us for thinking outside the box. I had a conversation with TA Doug a while back, and he said, I went home today, and he said, I got that awesome guitar solo on my guitar, and it was like the best, the most satisfying moment of the day. So when we get those moments, we get those moments of originality, creativity, it's triggered just like those other pleasures that we experience in life. So we can get high on this experience of creating, of doing, of being. And so then how does that replay? How can we reassemble some old ideas into some new ideas? How can we make change based on this? And what's the greater implication of it as related to BiSci 3, as related to the challenges that we've been talking about in our world, in our culture, in our lives? So I'd like you to take in this video. It's a long video. It's the longest video. It's 10 minutes. And what I want you to do is, as you watch the video, I want you to think about the themes that we've talked about in class and see what's happening for the folks in this scenario, what they're doing, how they're using, what answers they're bringing into the world about what they're doing. So take this in.
This machine is cutting out eyeglasses, but the frames aren't plastic. They're made of used coffee grounds.
Окуляри дійсно пахнуть кавою, особливо коли ви вперше їх відкриваєте.
The company Ochis makes its biodegradable frames in Kyiv, the capital of Ukraine, a city which has withstood deadly Russian airstrikes on and off for months. As Ukrainians deal with the damage, many cafes remain open, despite the risks.
Магазини працюють, люди гуляють, кав'ярні відкриті.
And one of them gives their used grounds to Ochis. People around the world drink about 2 billion cups of coffee every day. What if there's a new plastic replacement right under our noses? We went to Kyiv to see how workers make glasses from worldwide waste.
This is the start of a new story.
It's a story about a rapidly...
As the war drags on, coffee shops offer Ukrainians a sliver of normalcy.
То вирішили, що це дуже важливо, щоб людям було певне місце, куди вони змогли прийти та відчути, що вони якби живуть, і що це частина звичайного життя, якісь там ритуали у вигляді там чашки кави чи щось таке. В Києві дуже люблять каву, є багато кав'ярень, тому в нас є необмежений потік матеріалу для окулярів.
This shop closed for about 3 weeks after the war began. But when it reopened in March, customers came right back.
Це трохи напрягає, але в остальному намагаємось жити, намагаємось якось триматися.
The barista discards 11 pounds of coffee grounds every day. An Ochi's staff member collects the used grounds a few times a week. Turning coffee grounds into glasses keeps them out of landfills. That's good news because when organic waste breaks down without oxygen, it creates methane, a powerful type of planet-warming pollution.
Спасибо.
At the company's production facility, the first step is drying them out. The team grinds them into an ultra-fine powder. Then they blend the powder with plant oils.
Точна мікстура та рецептура яких це наш виробничий секрет, але вони всі рослинного походження та не мають хімікатів нерослинного походження.
Workers spread the mixture into molds. Some mochi's frames also include flowers, coconut, or other decorative accents. Then they put these molds into a press and allow the oil and coffee blend to harden under pressure.
Самый длительный шаг в производстве занимает прессовка и сушка пластин, чтобы они были крепкие и долговечны в использовании.
Workers here place the decorated plates in a machine that cuts them into basic shapes. These will become the rims and temples of the glasses.
Коли ти придивляєшся, ти дійсно бачиш невеличкі зерна льону.
У нас директор Максим очень любит сильно экспериментировать, искать новые материалы, которые можно использовать.
Maxim Gavrilyanka grew up surrounded by eyewear. His parents met working in the region's largest glasses factory. After the Soviet Union fell, they began selling them at markets. And they eventually opened their own shop, where Maxim learned to repair glasses.
Просто обычные очки из пластика делать не хотелось. Хотелось сделать что-то новенькое, классное и, самое главное, экологичное.
He tested out lots of materials, including sesame pulp, flax, and hemp.
Чудо свершилось тогда, когда в мастерскую зашла моя девушка и такая: «Макс, а что если кофе попробовать?» Я такой: «Точно, кофе!»
Maxim and about a quarter of Ochi's employees started working remotely after the war began. And the company paused making glasses. After about 2 months, the team returned to the workshop.
Коли Київську область було звільнено, в якийсь момент ми зрозуміли, що ми можемо повертатися до роботи, але вдячні, не знаю, Богу чи Збройним силам України за те, що ми можемо продовжувати працювати.
Insider filmed here in early October. About 2 weeks later, Kyiv faced deadly drone strikes that forced many people to shelter again. The nearby attacks have left their mark.
Страшно от каких-то громких взрывов, проехала громко машина, кто-то сверху что-то уронил. Ты реагируешь на все. Просто.
But hanging on to daily routines is an act of defiance.
Это как в какой-то момент, мне кажется, это игра на выживание. Если ты сейчас сдашься, ты уже ничего не сделаешь.
Even as rolling blackouts and air raid sirens interrupt their work, Ochi's staff return to the workshop whenever possible.
Мы показываем миру, что Украина может быть современной страной, она может делать экологичный товар.
And they're making a line of glasses dedicated to their country.
Але після початку війни ми випустили колекцію «Цвіт», яка на англійську перекладається як «Blossom». Ми присвятили її Україні, а саме квітам, які ростуть у нас в полях, і з якими знайомий кожен українець. Це сонях, волошки та чорнобривці.
A team of craftspeople shapes and polishes the pieces.
Убираємо лишні детальки, ось. Потім ми беремо, у нас є 3 види наждачки. Ми обробили поверхню, щоб вона була гладка і на вид блистіла. Потім ми йдемо робити фальсет на станку.
A laser engraver adds finishing touches. Then the team puts the pieces together.
Я з самого малку любила щось собирати, розбирати. Це, напевно, в мене з дитинства. Мені подобаються ці мелкі деталі, мелкі болтики.
After final inspection, the frames are ready for lenses.
Пробуємо, чи наша оправа добре складується. Так, вона добре складується.
The whole process for one pair takes about 4 days. But the team's work isn't done. They make cases out of coffee too.
На этом все. Дальше вы только получаете вашу готовую посылку с очками, ароматными, и всегда кофе будет с вами.
Globally, coffee drinkers create more than 2,000 large dump trucks worth of these grounds every day.
It's too dark in here. I need to get out.
Just take a deep breath.
M&M's Mix.
Ochis would have to make a lot more glasses to make a dent in coffee ground waste. Right now, it can fulfill all its orders with the leftovers from just one local cafe. Eventually, Maxim plans to expand.
Это будут тарелки, чашки, какие-то подставки, это могут быть светильники, столы, стулья и так далее.
For now, most Ochis glasses are sold online to foreign customers.
10% з продажів йде на гуманітарний фонд «Повернись живим», який потім розповсюджує ці кошти усім, кому ці кошти потрібні у вигляді продуктів чи інших гуманітарних товарів.
About a tenth of sales happen at local retailers like this one.
Що вони з кави, з ними можна під дощ, в душ?
Так, звісно, ви можете навіть плавати в морі.
Клас.
Customers in the Kyiv shop said they're eager to support a locally made product.
Я поруч працюю, і дружина мені сказала, що є поруч магазин, в якому продають окуляри з кави. Плюс мені дуже сподобалось, зімпонувало, що це компанія українська, а у воєнний стан, мені здається, дуже важливо підтримувати вітчизняних виробників.
Since the time of filming, Russian attacks have damaged infrastructure, creating water shortages and putting Kyiv at risk of a total blackout. City officials told the New York Times that if that happens, they might tell all residents to evacuate. And much of Max's hometown lies in ruin following the withdrawal of Russian forces.
И видеть там фотографии разрушенного города, когда ты помнишь эти улицы целыми, классными, да, ты там катался на велосипеде, а сейчас видишь всю эту разруху, но это тяжело очень.
But despite the grim situation, Maxim is committed to getting his product out into the world.
То есть мне странно, что люди направляют в целом энергию на разрушение, а не на создание.
It's a sentiment that keeps his team going.
Зараз побачили, що це країна, яка має цінності і має свою гідність. Також має дуже багато світлих розумів та креативних людей, які роблять дуже цікаві та красиві та унікальні речі.
Я вважаю, я впевнена, що наша Україна переможе. І ми почнемо процвітати, рости вгору, і наші діти заживуть краще, ніж ми.
What did you think? Talk to me a little bit about that. The most powerful part for me of that video was when he said, why do people spend so much time on destruction rather than creation, rather than innovation, rather than kindness. Any powerful parts for you?
Yeah, I feel very similar to you, Jen, when viewing that video, that all the destruction, it was a great parallel that they used by showing the war and then also this brand new innovation that is taking place in this small town, and how they were able to find a solution. And I think that in this class there's a lot of, especially in part 2, we're talking about a lot of destruction, a lot of problems that are occurring. And to be able to see some creation amidst the destruction is very inspiring.
Thanks. Valerie's coming.
I would say that sort of similar to what she was saying, but I was thinking more of like a countrywide thing. Like, even though it's horrible about what's happening in Ukraine, you could see like there's a silver lining to it, that they can be more environmentally conscious with buildings that they're going to have to manufacture around the country. So I think that it's a good turning point, and we could sort of use them as an example to see what the rest of the world could do to be environmentally conscious.
Thank you. Any other thoughts about that? So you don't know where opportunity is going to show up, right? Just like Max and the creating of these eyeglasses, using his traditional background and knowledge, and then being able to create something different using opportunity that he has. So thinking about some companies that we know, Steve Jobs redesigned the Pixar studio to maximize collaboration and creativity. So it was originally 3 separate buildings, and they had the computer scientists in one building and animators in a second building, and a third building held everybody else, the directors and the editors and everybody else. So Steve Jobs realized that this was a terrible idea, because the challenge of Pixar was creating a culture where all of these people were working together. And so to have them in 3 separate buildings didn't work for that. So being able to collaborate, he insisted that they create Pixar Studios into one giant cavernous space. And he insisted that there were only 2 bathrooms in that entire cavernous space, so that some people had to walk 15 minutes to get to the only bathroom. But by doing that, by creating this sort of space, people had to run into each other. You had to meet up there. You had to talk to other people as you were in the space. And so being able to mix and create and talk and know and share ideas, I've seen this happen at Shavers Creek. The best meetings that I have are standing in front of the copier, because that's where we talk. That's where people meet up. It's, that's right next to the kitchen space. It's where we talk. It's where program ideas happen. It's where sharing of information happens. We have all these structured meetings, but the best conversations that I have are the ones when I'm standing there waiting for the coffee pot to drip or washing my dishes after lunch. It's when we can run into other people, when we can find those places. And so here at Penn State, you have a very cool opportunity. People from different places, different cultures, different backgrounds, different religions, all kinds of different, sitting right here in your little lab group, sitting right here in this giant room. So coming together in this way to create these collaborations is one way of bringing about this creativity, right? one professor created this sort of social, individual, psychological experiment. He assigned half the class, we would say this half of the class is going to create one perfect pot, okay? And this side of the class, you're going to be graded on quantity. You're going to see how many pots you can create. So if you're in this pottery class, so 50 pots rated an A, 40 pots a B, and so on. And so the people on this side, creating the one perfect pot, it was shown that the quantity group, because even though they were trying to create as many as possible, they created much better work because they were experimenting, they were creating, they were playing with their ideas. The people that were creating one perfect pot, they were visualizing it, they were planning it, and then they went into the studio to create their one piece, which didn't turn out with as much quality as the quantity people. So creating things, right? I've heard some of you say, well, why do we have to do the front cover and the back cover and our ecological identity project? Why can't we just write an essay, or why can't we just turn in another paper about that? And that's because this play, this creativity is about us, right? It's about our connections. It's about using different parts of us. So you come up with creative ideas all day long, I'm sure of it. How you move around campus, where you choose to get lunch, whether you choose to pack your lunch, whether you however you move through the day, you are making choices that count as creativity. You cannot tell me that you are not creative. Everyone is creative. So how do we foster this? There are some very basic ways that we can foster our creativity, right? So we're doing it already, but if we want to do it more, how can we get the biggest effects of it, right? So we need to reduce our spikes in stress hormones. We're trying to decrease that cortisol that runs in our body. And by being creative, by exercising those new muscles, that will help. So that is a cycle, right? You want to sleep. Make sure that you're getting good quality sleep, and that will help your creativity. Mitigating distractions. I know this is a big one for me. If I'm trying to do something creative, even if I'm sitting to knit in my kitchen, and then I look up and there's that pile of candy wrappers from my kids, or the dirty dishes, or the dogs that need to go out, or then I just don't get as much done or created, or that space that I need in my head. Schedule creative endeavors at your peak time of day. I know that late afternoon is really lousy for me. I am sleepy, I am tired, that's when I am, so that's not the best time of day for me to hang out with my knitting friends, right? My knitting friends include somebody who leads journaling workshops at Shavers Creek, somebody who is a brain researcher on campus, somebody who is a psychologist. So we're a great group because we're always talking about options and things that are happening in our lives. Eat more proteins in the morning, less carbohydrates. That's shown to help our digestion, help our energy. Decrease caffeine and alcohol, exercise, maintain a variety of intellectual interests, and seeking out new experiences. These are all ways that experiencing or fulfilling, creating your own creativity can also lead you to finding more freedom. Very important thing that I want to tell you about that most Penn State students don't know about is that you can create your own major at Penn State. Through the BPhil program, Bachelor of Philosophy program, you can create your own major. And if this even initially interests you, you should write down Dr. Janet Schulenberg, the email bphil at psu.edu. Because maybe you haven't found the thing that really resonates with you. You have these variety of interests. I have 2 friends who have gone through this program and gotten their life coaching certificates. So they didn't want to be a psychologist, and they didn't want to be a psychiatrist, and they wanted to be out in nature. So they're able to put those things together, create your own major. And the last piece that I want to leave you with today is this idea that I want to encourage you to take off on days that you feel awesome. I'm not telling you to take off on days that you feel sick. I want you to take off on days that you feel awesome. I want you to call in healthy. I encourage you to do this because feel-good days are not infinite. So go home and play and create and love and be. And when you sell your health for money, you're going to lose both. So have a beautiful day. Thank you.